Tetrix J writes, here's a video idea. A video comparing and rating the various popular blue dial watches from a design standpoint. Designer notes subject 22. What subject would you like us to discuss next? Subscribe and comment to let us know. So a challenge is afoot. 15 blue dial watches, one overall theme. Rank all of them based only on design. No heritage, no sales statistics, no popular opinion. We're going to need the whole table for this one. Let's establish some ground rules. All of these watches need to be in equal scrutiny, otherwise the most prestigious and the most expensive would likely rank the highest. First and foremost, the whole ranking exercise is about design and aesthetics. They should have a design that is both appealing to watch enthusiasts and people in general. All must have a blue dial. All must be in stainless steel. And finally, the only complication that will be considered is the date or date. Other complications will be excluded. Let's begin with honorable mentions. We've selected these 5 watches that merit the attention of watch enthusiasts and designers, but some way somehow failed to be better designed than the top 10. IWC Engineer. Some may ramble why this is lower in the ranks, nor in the honorable mentions only, but hear me out. The dial on this watch creates a visual trick called layering without creating actual depth for the watch. This is great. The inner, middle, and outer parts of the dial increase in visual complexity as it goes outward. However, the weak point is the soft metal finish of this watch. As much as this was engineered to resist magnetism, this finishing leaves more to be desired. Zenith Defy Classic. This is a well-made titanium watch. We need just to look at the sharp angular cuts and you would surely agree. You can also see the minimal gaps between metal pieces, a true testament to Zenith's uncompromising way of building timepieces. This is a very understated watch though. Unless examined under a closer inspection, this makes it less appreciated than it should be. Bell & Ross BR05. For what it's worth, the BR05 is an aviation-themed watch that makes use of large bold numerals on a cockpit instrument-inspired case shape. The flat chiseled bracelet plays with the light magnificently, making this piece desirable. Something not desirable is the round dial. Why not go all out and make this a squarish dial like the bezel? Glasuta Original 70s Panoramic Date. As with most watches in this price point, the finishing of the bezel is delightful. The radiant dial is clearly the main draw of this watch that is framed in a tonneau case. The technical feature here is the panoramic date window that utilizes 2 numerical discs to display the date at the 6 o'clock position. There is a nice combination of satin and mirror finish on the case, but not nice enough to be on the top 10. Finally, Hublot Classic Fusion. The versatility is more than ever the biggest asset of the Classic Fusion. Hublot knows how to play the general crowd. The contemporary size, interchangeable bands, and the plethora of materials that you can choose from all make the design very profitable. The only thing that Hublot needs to improve on is the finishing on these stainless steel cases. The brushing is deep and less refined than others, say Zenith. If only they put the same effort like they do on their ceramic offerings. Here's the top 10 blue dial stainless steel watches. Number 10. Chopard Alpine Eagle. The one thing that the Alpine Eagle has that puts itself in this humble list is the dial. It has this subdued glimmer that plays along the swirling pattern. It's also a welcome addition that this watch is a chronometer certified watch, with a decorated movement worthy of the Chopard jewelry name. The dial also displays large and crisp numerals and hour markers. The date window, however, is clumsily applied at the edge of the dial. It sits way too close to the walls of the case. Coming in at number 9 is the Girard-Perregaux Laureato. This Laureato may seem too dressy to be used as a tool watch, but make no mistake, the GP Laureato is a true water-resistant watch. The butterfly clasp is an excellent example of what Girard-Perregaux can do with this near seamless clasp integration. The bezel is sharp and has a purpose, to make it easier to lock and allow superior water resistance with less components. Of course, it also adds the appearance to the watch and has become its signature in its prominence. No wonder this is touted as the Royal Oak alternative. Number 8. Cartier Santos. The numerals in the Cartier Santos radiates from the center of the dial, following the sunburst pattern. The date is at the 6 o'clock position, with its colors carefully matching the dial theme, at least for the version that has the date complication. The bezel nicely separates itself from the rest of the case by having a polished finish. Another strong suit for the Santos is the bracelet. This bracelet can be swapped out for another one very quickly because of the quick change feature. The links are equally easy to detach, making resizing an event rather than being a chore. At number 7, Chapek Antarctique. Chapek is a relatively young brand making use of a name that most horologists may be familiar of. They also make use of the crowd-pleasing design techniques like the easy band replacement. Not only did they adopt the convenient features, but they also included high-end finishing practices such as the dial engraving. The movement is an in-house developed movement that utilizes a micro-rotor. Micro-rotors is a designer's favorite since it saves space that's normally taken up by a large rotor. This timepiece is also chronometer graded, making it supremely accurate compared to the typical automatic watch. The wasted endeavor here is that of the bracelet. The bracelet is just one of the best looking and refined bracelet that could have rivaled that of the Royal Oaks. The polishing, the sharp angles, and the contour is just remarkable. If only they made a better effort to make this fit along the wrist, this would have ranked higher on the list. Ranked at number 6 is the Lang & Söhne Odysseus. With a 120-meter water resistance, the Odysseus is qualified as a tool watch, although we don't see a dive bezel or any other instrumentation. The bracelet is easy to resize with a built-in push-button mechanism. These flush buttons make this feature almost non-existent. Every link are accented with polished bevels around its brushed surfaces while being finished uniformly. No gaps can be seen between the links. The use of platinum on the rotors adds not just monetary value but also weight to the rotor. The use of German silver creates a warm hue on the movement while being decorated with these gorgeous hand carvings and finishings. The date and day complications are symmetrical except for the date frame. Noticeable on the dial is also the various surface finishing that exhibits Lange's abilities to decorate their dials, but may be visually too much on certain angles. The pushers, yes, they are pushers and not crown guards, almost blends with the case proportions, but adds to the case width. Coming in at number 5 is the Grand Seiko SBGH 267. This was a wild card that was thrown in that slowly crept up the ranks, and for a good reason. Let's deal with the dial first. Saying this is an intricate dial is an understatement. The carvings on the dial and its gradient tone makes it very desirable even on photos and videos. This movement is a high beat caliber movement showcasing the superior engineering capabilities of the Japanese vertical production. Grand Seiko is also known to decorate their movements, and no less is expected here. As much as the SBGH 267 seems to be simple geometrically, it is as exquisitely finished with a Zeratsu polish. This polishing technique is comparable to black or mirror polishing of the Swiss, if not better. The polishing is so good that light even fails to reflect on certain angles. This same technique is also applied on the hands and indexes, far smaller components that Seiko doesn't want to compromise in. This level of finishing on the hands and indexes is without hyperbole the best in the industry. At number 4 is the Bulgari Octo Finissimo. Bulgari delivers here in two fronts, a unique angular design and the ultra-thin profile. Let's begin with the angular design. The octagonal shape of the dial extends outside the case, literally outside the case down to the lugs. This shape is angled not only laterally from the case, but also vertically across the thickness of the case. It's curious to speak of thickness for the Octo Finissimo because it barely has any. Utilizing an in-house movement that's paper-thin and employing a platinum micro-rotor, the Finissimo finesses its way through all the wrist sizes despite its wide profile. In fact, the bracelet is so narrowly thin that it comfortably hugs the wrist. Overall, the design is pleasing at all aspects except for the finishing on the cases and bracelet. This leaves it rather raw in appearance. Number 3. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. What the Bulgari failed in, Audemars Piguet revolutionized and improved on. The polishing around the links and the case is mirrored and very finely done. All of these are hand-plied, raising the bar of difficulty. The bezel has screws that not only acts as ornaments to the bezel but is also functional for its water resistance. The dial is equally well made with a waffle pyramid pattern. Many complain about the rubber gasket between the bezel and the case, and it does break the elegance once it's noticed. The date window is at the 3 o'clock position, which lends to its decreased symmetry. Right now, the industrial feel of the Royal Oak is a trend that is currently supported and seemingly iconic enough to endure at least a generation more. Can we start calling it timeless? We'll have to wait and see. Number 2. Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711. Whatever AP revolutionized, Patek refined. Same designer, it's different approach. The refinement is everywhere. On the movement, there are various finishing techniques applied in a single platform. Blackened screws, ornate perlage on the surfaces. The dial is not as intricate as that of the AP, but it does well for what it's going for it. The dial also has a fine gradient that elevates its elegance. The Nautilus is an exercise of subtlety. The subtle curve and soft corners creates a classy form that has become timeless. There is room for improvement. However sacrilegious it may sound like, but the crown and date window can be improved. The crown is probably the least desirable and may be hard to operate. The date window is similarly at the 3 o'clock position, which could have been much better suited at the 6 o'clock. And finally at number 1 is the Vacheron Constantin Overseas. The Vacheron Constantin Overseas took all the refinements that AP and Patek did and took it to the next level. The finishing is superb, and on the same level as that of the Nautilus and Royal Oak. The bracelet is not only polished, but also sharp in the corners. These could not be finished by machine. The cross motif of the Overseas is seen all over the watch, making this its signature. The dial is cleanly executed and properly balanced, with both simplicity at the center and the appropriate minute tracks at the outer portions. The bracelet is easy to detach and replace. This is not a new feature. This list alone mentions quite a few of them, but the way the Overseas does it is the most convenient of all. Vacheron also offers the strap and leather options readily with each Overseas. On the bracelet, there are micro adjustments on both sides of the clasp. The logo and branding is proportioned perfectly with uniform gaps around the perimeter. The case shape and finishing is fine and uniform all throughout. The nautical theme is emphasized even down to the rotor with its beautiful compass pointers. Vacheron had the advantage of seeing what AP and Patek's flagship pieces and made all the technical improvements that it could on all those areas. It may not be the iconic nor most sought after piece, but no one can deny its design achievements and drive to perfect watchmaking technologies. What do you think? Is this list blasphemous? What is your top 10 blue dial watch? Let us know in the comments below.